The fake HOA cop swung a metal bat at our mailman's head in broad daylight, like he thought he owned the whole street. Papers flew everywhere. Neighbors screamed. And Andrew, our new mailman, lay bleeding on the pavement, crawling for help. What that HOA cop didn't know was that assaulting a federal employee isn't just wrong, it's a federal offense. And this time, the whole neighborhood watched it happen. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. To understand how this even happened, you need the backstory, because one man didn't just randomly decide to beat a mail carrier with a bat. This began long before the strike. It started with a woman named Darlene Pierce, the HOA president of Silver Oak Meadows, a woman who believed HOA authority made her some kind of neighborhood dictator. She ran the board with an iron fist, a fake smile, and a rule book thicker than a Bible. Most of the rules she created herself, and everyone feared crossing her, except Andrew. Andrew was new, 3 weeks on the job. Kind man, soft voice, always smiled, always waved. The type of guy who delivered treats to the neighborhood dogs because mail days should be happy days, and that made him a target. Darlene hated that he didn't bow to her fake authority the way others did. She tried everything to intimidate him, timing his deliveries, taking photos of him, asking him to report to her office like she was a government official. But Andrew stayed firm. He followed federal rules, not HOA fantasies, and that drove Darlene mad. 3 days before the attack, she made her move. She approached Andrew's truck and said straight-faced, "From now on, all incoming and outgoing mail must be reviewed by the HOA first." Andrew blinked. "Ma'am, that's illegal. No one touches the mail except postal employees." Darlene's smile cracked. "This neighborhood is under my jurisdiction. If you refuse, I will have my officer handle it." Officer. She meant her HOA cop, a man with too much muscle and not enough brain, the type who loved power but hated responsibility. Andrew thought she was bluffing, but Darlene didn't bluff. The day of the attack, Andrew was sorting mail beside his truck. Sun shining, kids biking, neighbors gardening. A normal day, until the HOA SUV rolled up. The door slammed. The fake cop stormed out in full gear, boots, vest, gloves, gripping a metal baseball bat like he'd been waiting to use it. Andrew barely had time to turn his head. "Are you Andrew?" the HOA cop barked. "Yes?" Andrew answered, confused. The bat swung so fast the neighbors gasped. It missed Andrew's skull by inches, slamming into the side of the truck with a metallic crack. Letters flew everywhere, swirling in the air like snow. Andrew stumbled back, terrified. "What are you doing?" The HOA cop raised the bat again. "Darlene said you don't follow orders," he growled. "And people who don't follow HOA orders get removed." Andrew tried to crawl away, clutching his bleeding cheek. The fake cop stepped over him, bat raised for another strike. The entire neighborhood realized this wasn't HOA rule enforcement. This was a federal crime in progress, and someone was going to prison for a long, long time. The fake HOA cop didn't stop at one swing. Andrew was already on the pavement trying to crawl away, letters scattered everywhere like broken feathers, but the guy just kept going. He raised that aluminum bat again, veins popping in his neck, jaw clenched like he was trying to prove something to the whole neighborhood. And then he brought it down. Crack! Right against Andrew's shoulder. The sound echoed down the street. Sharp, sickening, wrong. Neighbors screamed. Someone dropped their grocery bags. A kid across the road burst into tears. But the HOA cop didn't even blink. He lifted the bat a third time. Andrew tried to speak, "Please," but the words barely left his lips. The cop swung again. Crack! This one hit the side of Andrew's head. His body went limp instantly. His hands stopped moving. His eyes fluttered and rolled back, unconscious. The street went dead silent, the kind of silence that only fear can cause, tight, pressured, breathless. The HOA cop looked around for a moment, chest heaving, gripping the bat like he'd just defeated an enemy on a battlefield, instead of a mailman simply doing his job. Then he shouted, "This is HOA property. He refused to comply." Like screaming it out loud would magically make beating a federal employee legal. A couple stepped out of their driveway. "Stop!" the husband yelled. "He's hurt." The HOA cop pointed the bat at him next. "Step back! You don't want to get involved." The wife grabbed her husband's arm and pulled him away, terrified. Another neighbor yelled, "Someone call 911." "Already did," another voice answered from behind a mailbox. The HOA cop started pacing back and forth, bat still raised, breathing heavy, sweat dripping, adrenaline shaking through his whole body. He didn't expect witnesses. He didn't expect the mailman to resist. He didn't expect the neighborhood to snap out of fear. But most of all, he didn't expect what happened next. A door slammed open down the street. Footsteps thundered down the sidewalk, and Mr. Grayson, a former Marine from 2 houses down, stormed toward him like a freight train in human form. He didn't run. He didn't yell. He simply said, "Drop the bat." The HOA cop spun around, raised it again, but Grayson was faster. One shoulder slam knocked the wind out of the fake cop. The bat clattered to the ground. Before he could reach for it, Grayson kicked it away and tackled the guy so hard the pavement shook. Neighbors rushed in, some holding towels, some calling 911, some protecting Andrew. Grayson pinned the fake cop face down, knee between his shoulder blades. "You're done," he growled. "You attacked a federal worker. You're finished." The HOA cop screamed and thrashed, but Grayson didn't budge. Sirens started echoing in the distance. One neighbor whispered, "He's going to prison, right?" Another answered, "Oh yeah, he's not walking away from this." And as the wail of police sirens grew louder and louder, the HOA cop's face twisted from rage to fear, because even he now understood. This wasn't HOA drama anymore. This was federal crime, and every second had been witnessed. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe because the story is only going to get better. Mr. Grayson held that fake HOA cop down with the kind of strength only a Marine still carried in his bones. The guy kept squirming, screaming about HOA jurisdiction and citizen's arrest, but nobody was listening anymore. Everyone's attention was on Andrew. He still wasn't moving. Two neighbors stayed by his side, one holding a towel to the blood at his temple, the other whispering, "Stay with us, buddy, stay with us," even though Andrew was unconscious. Then the sirens hit the street. Two police cruisers slid to a stop, an ambulance right behind them, lights flashing, radios blaring. Officer Patel, one of the calmest cops in the district, stepped out first. She took one look at Andrew on the ground, then one look at the HOA cop pinned under Grayson, and her entire expression changed. "Who did this?" she demanded. Grayson pointed without hesitation. "Him. He tried to cave the mailman's skull in." The HOA cop started yelling again. "I was enforcing HOA rules. He refused to comply." Patel's head snapped toward him. "You assaulted a federal employee with a deadly weapon," she said sharply. "There is no HOA rule on earth that justifies that." She signaled to the other officers, "Cuff him. Now." The fake cop howled as two officers hauled him off the pavement, slammed cuffs on his wrists, and shoved him into the back of a cruiser. The entire street exhaled when the door shut. Paramedics moved fast. "He's got a concussion," one said. "Possible skull fracture. BP dropping. Let's move." They loaded Andrew into the ambulance, lights hitting the pavement as it pulled away toward the hospital. A neighbor cried softly into her hands. The street went silent again, until Officer Patel turned to us and asked, "Did anyone film this?" 10 phones went up at once. Within 30 minutes, the footage was already in the hands of police, the postal inspector, and federal authorities who arrived shortly after. And the moment the postal inspector watched the clip of the HOA cop swinging the bat, he said one sentence that changed everything. "He's going to federal prison for this." And that was only the beginning. Because once Andrew was stabilized at the hospital, investigators went straight to the HOA office with warrants in hand. They weren't just looking for the fake cop. They wanted to know who sent him. That's when it all unraveled. Emails, voice messages, printed orders, all signed by one person, Darlene Pierce, HOA president of Silver Oak Meadows. She hadn't just hired the fake cop. She instructed him to intercept and monitor all mail delivery. She told him Andrew was defiant and a risk to the community. She even approved the purchase of the metal bat. By sundown, police were knocking on her door. Darlene came outside, clutching her clipboard like a holy relic, shouting, "You can't arrest me. I run this community." But when the federal agents flashed their credentials, she froze. "Ma'am," the lead postal inspector said, "you conspired to assault a federal employee. You're coming with us." Handcuffs clicked. Neighbors filmed. Phones buzzed with messages. The entire HOA collapsed overnight. Andrew survived. Stitches, a wired jaw, and a long recovery ahead. But he lived. The fake cop? He was sentenced to 22 years in federal prison, 15 years for assaulting a federal employee, 5 years for using a deadly weapon, and 2 years for obstruction. He was also ordered to pay $118,000 in fines and restitution for Andrew's hospital bills, surgery, recovery treatment, and lost wages. As for Darlene, the HOA president who sent him, she got 7 years in federal prison for conspiracy and interference with the U.S. Postal Service, plus a $60,000 fine and permanent removal from the HOA board. The next morning, the neighborhood mailboxes were decorated with flowers, cards, and thank you notes addressed to Andrew. Justice had finally arrived. And that's how a fake HOA cop learned the hard way that you don't lay a hand on a federal worker and walk away. The end.